Hello and welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. The Triforce is back in the house. We've got the third side of the triangle back. Tyler, welcome back, buddy. I want you to first kick off this episode. First of all, we're going to go over the AFC and NFC East today, so stay tuned for that. But first, Tyler attended a live, for the first time ever, live Scott Fishbowl draft in the beautiful city of Minneapolis. Tyler, tell me about your experience that you had today drafting your Scott Fishbowl team. I want to hear all about it. I have mine next Saturday, so next Sunday, I will share my tales of Scott Fishbowl. But for now, the stage is yours.
It was fantastic. It was a great event, and Scott threw it, so he throws great events. His son was there doing the stickers, and he wanted to announce the picks. So our whole first round, we kept it secret. All of our first picks were secret. Nobody knew. He went up on to the front of the sticker board, announced the pick. It was super cool for him. He was pumped about it, and that's what fantasy is all about, like bringing the family into it. And when my son or even my daughters get older and they get into it, that'll be a fun thing to share. And I made the comment because Scott's son is very smart at fantasy already. And
he's the same age as my son, and my son has no interest in fantasy football whatsoever.
Scott, there's one moment where Scott's son said something about the draft pick and just he didn't like it. And I looked at Scott and I said, this is the point where Anakin starts becoming evil. and he's starting to become Anakin. He's so powerful and he wants more power.
Was that him talking about your James Cook pick?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it was not. Surprisingly not. But yeah, it was a very fun, a lot of great people, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of good stories. And I mean, there's a husband and wife team where I saw Mariota go in the third round. Yeah, third round. And he just said, I think it's going to smash. And we're all making fun of him. And his wife wanted a picture saying, I need to get him on a t-shirt saying, I'm better than my husband at fantasy football. So we're getting
I thought she wanted to get like, I'm going to smash on a t-shirt.
It was great. It was so much fun. We had four live drafts, 2 separate times for them. I saw a bunch of people that I've known and a bunch of people I haven't met. So that was fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Boston draft on Saturday. My brother-in-law, Josh, will be there. I know a bunch of other people that are going to be there as well, but it's going to be really cool to meet new people. And that's one of the things like going to the expo last year, like, people or you've potted with them, you've chatted with them, but you've never physically met them. So it's great to have that opportunity.
That's pretty much what it was. Like a mini expo.
To put a actual like face to a name and all that kind of stuff. Yep. So that's awesome. So I'm pumped for that. About how long were you guys drafting for? A couple hours?
We took a break at round 5.
And you went to round 10, right?
And yep, we went to round 10. We're still at round 10. Brian Johnson of the Fantasy Football Weekly podcast up here in Minneapolis with Paul Charchian. He's been on the clock for 4 hours. And right when he was on the clock, I went up to him. I said, hey, by the way, you're on the clock. You should pick. And I bugged him all the time. I said, I'm going to be that guy. And he still hasn't
Tyler,
picked,
you're always that guy. Impatient Magoo over there.
Imagine it live.
We're doing it live. Well, that is awesome. I am pumped for mine. James, how was your weekend?
It was nice, thank you. I spent the weekend with the family, just hung out around the house, did some dad stuff, Did a lot of prep for this podcast. I mean, breaking down 2 divisions in a single hour.
You're a saint with all the prep that you do. I did not much. And so we'll see where this goes.
Well, I think, the money, the time invested is for the fans. It's not for me. Well, sure. It's kind of for me a little bit because, this is the part where I start prepping for redraft.
Yep.
When I get these deep dives into the divisions and I sit there and start contemplating what guys I want on my redraft rosters and what they're going to do on a seasonal basis. Therefore, I can transfer that into the dynasty market, whether or not I want to go after a player for a trade or players that are going to be looked at down the line in season to trade away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So this week we are brought to you once again by our friends Fantasy Points. you just talked about redraft season coming up, right? People
It's
are
here,
really
baby.
starting.
It's Sky
It is-
Fishbowl.
It is the second week of July. Scott Fishbowl. There's been some big name redraft pods that have finally come back after a couple months off. So 'tis the season. Draft guides are coming out. So if you're looking for draft guides, you can find those out there as well from, not only your magazines, I saw them in the store already, but your online draft guides, whether it's the footballers, it's JJ Zacharyson. There's a lot of different things out there. But I'm going to tell you that Fantasy Points is awesome. So I recommend them. You can use code DHH22. You can get 10% off a Fantasy Points subscription. We all know 90% of the users made the playoffs the last 2 years. It's going to be the same way, if not better, this year. The price is super low. You've got an analytic-powered draft tool. It's constantly updated. There's a DFS optimizer if you like to play DFS like I do during the season. I only do really 2 redraft leagues now, and the rest is just DFS that I play on Underdog, and we'll talk about them a little later. So, but yeah, definitely awesome things on Fantasy Points. So check them out, fantasypoints.com and DHH22 for that 10% off. And if you like what you're hearing right now, and if you want to see these beautiful faces every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. You can type in Dynasty Happy Hour, hit that little bell. You'll get the alerts. I watch way too many YouTube videos with my son, so I know all the lingo.
Smash the like
button and hit subscribe. 70% of the viewers right now are not subscribed. I don't know. That's not real.
I watched a lot of Scott Fishbowl Podathon this weekend on YouTube on the big screen at the house.
Nice.
So I'm looking
I was
forward
pretty
to
busy all
watching
weekend.
this episode
I didn't
back
catch it.
on the big screen.
Yeah, great. By the way, great job, Sal, once again.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
it was awesome.
The other two weren't in it this year, but he had a ton of help.
Yeah, it's weird with no Kevin and was it Steve?
Steve and Kevin.
They did show up. They did show up a little bit. I know they came in for a little bit.
I did it live from Kevin's house last year.
Or
I drove to his house and brought him breakfast and hung out for like 2 hours. It was great.
I was on it with Matt Walsh and Chase. We talked about how short Chase is, of course.
I watched that.
He's a short man.
Tyler looked like the ginger version of the Hamburglar on camera.
I got told I look like Cam Newton.
Okay.
I got the get up.
Get the get up on, man.
Oh,
Where's
the
glasses?
That's a Cam Newton-esque hat for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, either that or like a weird
Macklemore,
Bruno Mars, maybe. I don't know.
That looks like a Macklemore from the thrift shop.
Baby. Skate. I don't know. I only know that song because of Fortnite.
It was very entertaining, though.
All right, let's get into some news. We do. This is the deadest of dead.
Oh
season,
man, it was
right?
so tough putting this together.
It's real quiet. But we did have a big trade. For all of you that have been holding on to Baker Mayfield on your dynasty rosters, congrats. He just got a little bit of value pumped back into him. The Carolina Panthers have acquired quarterback Baker Mayfield from the Browns in exchange for a conditional 2024 fifth-round pick. And on top of that, Mayfield has agreed to a $3.5 million pay cut in the final year of his deal this coming season, while the Browns will absorb $10.5 million and the Panthers around $5 million. So he's a one-year rental. I think better than Sam Darnold. Obviously, Matt Corral, a lot of people took him in Superflex leagues, usually around the third, end of second, early third. He might be the guy of the future. Both Darnold and Mayfield are on one-year deals. The Panthers are going to say it's a QB competition between the two 2018 first-round picks. Tyler, what's your take on Baker Mayfield to the Panthers?
I mean, he's a starter. He's a better quarterback than Darnold.
Yes.
Makes better choices. And Matt Rule in college, he had Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's play, stylistic-wise, is very comparable to Baker Mayfield. This is a great fit for his offense. McAdoo's offense, it's a really good fit. McCaffrey and Baker's not scared to dump it off to the running back, so McCaffrey's going to get his. Baker loves the tight end, so Njoku is going to get, or not Njoku. Ooh,
wow.
Old love.
Tommy Tremble?
Sorry.
Say
Tommy Tremble, maybe.
Yeah.
Ian Thomas.
Is just a blocker. That's
he
over.
might just catch 7 touchdowns with 100 yards. I mean, it could be gross.
Maybe 70 yards.
Terrace Marshall will get some love. Robbie Anderson won't get any love. And DJ Moore skyrockets again. I mean, DJ Moore's price was falling because they didn't have a quarterback, it looked like.
Yeah.
And
Baker's game fits DJ Moore really well, I think.
Yeah, very well. So I love this for all parties. Their offensive line is revamped. That was the issue last year. Their offensive line was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They might have gotten one of the best left tackles in the past 2 years draft classes.
Ike Ekwonko?
Yeah. And
I don't remember his name.
If he pans out like we all scouts think he will,
mm-hmm.
this is a solidified line right from the start. So Baker, I love his projection. And week 1, they get Cleveland. You know what Baker does? He's always
revenge
had that
game narrative.
He's always got that underdog mentality, and sometimes got him in the
when
trouble.
he's not home playing Halo for 10 hours a day.
But now Baker actually has the underdog mentality. Like, people are sleeping on him now. So now he can actually play with that again and relive those memories of when he was with Oklahoma and, Cleveland when he was struggling a little bit. Yeah. So I love it.
I'll jump right in there and say, yeah, we see that he took a $3.5 million pay cut, and it actually went towards, it was more incentive driven. And he turned around and he said, all right, I'll have an incentive contract. I'm ready to rock here. I think he has a chip on his shoulder. Everybody talking. Hopefully it's the better shoulder.
Hopefully it's Doritos, Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch. Maybe some spicy nacho.
Yeah.
And Carolina Cool Ranch. I like that. But no, he has a chip on his shoulder from all the junk people were talking about in the offseason. He's ready to come in and rip it up. Sam Darnold, you're going to be a ghost. All right. Just simply.
No, he's already seen him. Now he's going to be
scared of them. He's scared of ghosts. So he's scared of himself.
He's scared of himself.
He's
and
like
that's part of the
on,
problem.
He's like a character on Scooby-Doo.
Zero confidence, that kid.
Yeah.
But no, I think I agree with Tyler. It's Baker's job to lose pretty much.
Quick question for Doug, since you haven't put your input. Superflex League, what are you giving up picks wise in 2023 for Baker Mayfield if you wanted to go acquire him?
I think, you can still acquire him on the cheap because he's only in Carolina for a year and is, outside of that, like who knows? I think you could probably acquire him for probably a late second, I think would get it done with a lot of people right now. Although realistically, you may have to give up a mid-second because he's a starting quarterback with upside. So I'd be comfortable giving up a late second for Baker, I think. I still like him.
I'd give up mid.
Mid-second's okay, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a 23 first. It could be mid, early, or late. So I'd just say I'd give up a second if I needed a quarterback. Fair. And I'm like, I need a quarterback 3 with upside. Yeah, Baker's a perfect guy for that.
Yeah, and it's funny, all the teams that I have Baker on in Superflex leagues or Start 2 QB leagues is I needed him to find a landing spot because I have one roster with Jalen Hurts, which is great, and Trey Lance. Still don't know if he's going to be the starter. So Baker getting
fine.
A starting job is really, really nice. So let's move on. We've got a report from ESPN's Jenna Lane that lists Bucs running back Giovanni Bernard a candidate to be released this preseason, which I don't think is too much of a surprise. He's a little long in the tooth. They have Leonard Fournette, who looking a little beefy so far. So that's interesting. And they have Keyshawn Vaughn and the street beef. And they also drafted Rachaad White, who a lot of people like, and he was pretty easily attainable in the early to middle of your second rounds in your rookie drafts. James, is he the clear handcuff here to Leonard Fournette?
I think so. He was able to handle a hefty workload in college, and I think it translates well to the Bucs scheme. I don't think the Bucs scheme changes that much, even though Arians is out. I think it pretty much stays the same. And yeah, I mean, he's got a great my notes for Rachaad White, if I may,
absolutely,
were 1,000 yards rushing, 16 total touchdowns, breakaway ability, speed to finish at the end in the end zone, patient and elusive, all-purpose back, subpar pass blocking. So this is going to piss Tom Brady off just a little bit. So I don't think we see Rachaad White off the rip. I think we see him later in the season if need be, or a fill-in. I think Leonard Fournette is going to get a full workload.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with Fournette's just a little bit of injury history.
His durability, yeah.
And here's the other thing about the Bucs that no one's talking about. That offensive line missing a lot of pieces that were there last year that were really good. They had Ali Marpet retire. They lost another tackle. They still have Tristan Wirfs, obviously, who's amazing. But that line, they lost Alex Kappa. Like, that line is not as good as it was last year when it was opening up a lot of those holes for Fournette. So I think that's something that I know people are pumping up Fournette in redraft as like a top 10 RB, which I can see that because he's in an elite offense. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think Fournette is a very interesting case this year. And Rachaad White, I think, skill set, if Fournette went down, like, White's the kind of guy that could get the job and then, like, not give it back. Possibly.
Fair enough.
Tyler, what do you think about that?
I will save it for the NFC South when we get to it, because
All
the
right,
closer
fair
we
enough.
get to preseason, the more we'll probably know about that backfield.
That is very true. So moving on to our last piece of news, that's a lot of
The
T's.
what?
The Tacoma News Tribune's Greg Bell says the Seahawks' plan has been to roll with a Geno Smith versus Drew Lock quarterback battle in 2022. Yeah.
All of a
sudden, are they tanking? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And what do we do with DK Metcalf? Here's the thing.
He's falling.
Geno Smith with DK. I think DK had 4 touchdowns in the 5 games that Geno started.
4 catches though.
Probably. So I think DK is interesting. Like, I think it's a buy the dip moment for DK, because he's, one of the all-world athletes at the position. And yes, he may have a quarterback downgrade. Can he still perform 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns? Like, yeah, I think he can, but his ceiling is going to be capped with either Drew Lock or Geno Smith. And then maybe they make a move for Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm hearing whispers that Tampa wants to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo and have him back up Brady and be the successor. How crazy would that be?
Ugh.
I mean, yeah, James said it. Ugh.
Hey, Jimmy's won 70% of his games. He's a winner.
The whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing
he's
is just
fragile,
like,
though.
let's just get it over with. It's no thank you with Jimmy G. Like, he's fine, but he needs a good defense to back him up. If he doesn't have that defense, he's going like
You're not wrong.
If he had what defense could we put him with? If say he was on the Jets, that dude would struggle. And the Jets have a decent defense. He would not be at 70%.
Yeah, I mean, the defense definitely helps him for sure.
Yeah, he's had good defenses
and
everywhere
a good
he
offensive
goes.
line in front of him.
Yeah, everywhere he went, he's had that.
So DK Metcalf, what are we doing? Are you buying the dip? Or are you staying away?
Buying. I mean,
I'll buy the dip.
Yeah.
What kind of dip? Is this like a ranch
queso?
Dip?
Spicy queso.
It's like 7 layers.
How about a spinach artichoke dip? Always a crowd pleaser.
That's always good.
Yeah.
I think it's like a 7-layer dip because you don't know where you're going to finish.
No, thank you.
Right now.
I'll pass.
What
on the 7-layer
what
dip.
about a dill dip? I like a dill dip. Is good too.
Good dill dip.
What, like a tzatziki sauce?
I like just dill dip. Not
You know they have
quite
dill-
tzatziki.
They have dill pickle dip at Costco, and it's very good.
Mhm.
Hashtag
Put that-
sponsor.
Hey, for any of you culinary wizards out there, you buy a loaf of rye bread, like the circular one, and then you cut into it, and then you dump that dill dip, and then you slice up the pieces of bread that you cut out of it, and you use that. Oh, next level snacking right there.
Like a sourdough bread bowl.
Doug,
but with rye.
Doug's the bread bowl guy. I bet he has pasta in a bread bowl.
Dude, I could eat bread all day long. I don't
make
even know
this
how I lost 100 pounds.
Parmesan crab spinach dip in a sourdough bread bowl.
That sounds good.
To die for. Absolutely delicious.
Buffalo dip.
I haven't had
big
crab
dip.
in a while.
You keep it.
I haven't had
nowadays.
dip in a while.
I like it. All right, let's move on. We talked a little bit about Trophy Smack earlier. Tyler was on the SFB Podathon with Matt from Trophy Smack. And of course, they are an excellent sponsor this week. So head on over to Trophy Smack, use code DHHRing, whether you're going to get a football trophy or a belt, hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer, completely customizable. James has his belt with the chef on it. It's amazing. They also have stuff for the losers of your league. You need that toilet bowl. Maybe you need some fake poop on a trophy. You can get that done. And once again, that is code DHHRing for that free $60 ring at checkout.
And go check out their live draft in LA. Go check out their factory, because
Warehouse?
you're literally going to look at
Headquarters?
everything. Yeah, headquarters.
I heard there's a bowling alley and
and when you're
shuffleboard and all
when
kinds
you're
of
looking at the
things.
video, check out all the trophies that are going to be around there and just be like, ooh, I'll take that one, and then use our code and go get that trophy. That's all it is. You're window shopping when you're watching this. You're not really watching the draft. You're just window shopping for your next
stuff
trophy.
in the background.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to the NFC East. We're going to cover them first, and then obviously move over to the AFC because there's no other Easts to talk about. So the NFC East, so what I'll do is I'll give you the team, I'll give you some of their moves, and then you guys can talk about it, and I'll chime in. How's that sound? That sounds good. All right, I like that.
Fine by me.
It's been decided. All right, so
You're the
NFC
captain.
East, let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. This is probably the most interesting team from a fantasy perspective, although Philadelphia is going to give them a run, right? So let's talk about the Cowboys, what their offseason looked like. They traded away Amari Cooper. So everyone has CeeDee Lamb is going to get a bajillion targets. Michael Gallup tore his ACL late in the season. They go ahead and draft Jalen Tolbert, who I like a lot, who I thought was a great value at the end of the second, early thirds in our rookie drafts. They signed James Washington as a free agent, former love of Tyler himself. Ezekiel Elliott says once again he played with a knee injury during the season.
And he's fit.
And he's fit once again. Tell me if you've heard this story before.
5 years
yes,
running.
I have. Yeah, he still looks like an Ewok. I don't care. Tony Pollard is waiting in the wings for something, for them to either incorporate him more in the offense or to be the man once Zeke goes down. They did sign Dalton Schultz to the franchise tag, so he's going to be there this year. They're trying to work out a long-term deal with him, and they still have Dak Prescott at quarterback. So for me, like, it's interesting because I think the offensive line is older, and we think Cowboys, and one of the things you think of over the last handful of years is a really stout offensive line.
They drafted a guard/tackle early in the first.
They're trying to rebuild it a bit, but I think the offensive line is a little bit of a problem. And, Dak is not as elusive as he used to be. I still think he's going to be a top 8 fantasy quarterback. I don't think that's a problem. But what do you guys think about these moves that the Cowboys made in the offseason? And is it going to be CeeDee Lamb's year? It's hard not to kind of draw the conclusion that it should be. He's still the wide receiver 4 or 5 in Dynasty startups?
He's wide receiver 3 in startups on DLF. And he quietly led the team last year with 120 targets, even with Amari Cooper there. I think they go up somewhere around the 150-ish range. And with his completion percentage, his yards per catch, yada, yada, yada. I mean, you're looking at around 1,370 yards and maybe 8 to 9 touchdowns this season.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out to be like 283 fantasy points. That would be wide receiver 8 last year. So I think wide receiver 1 is definitely in his wheelhouse. Whether or not he finishes on the top is yet to be seen. Things have to work out as a team. Now, as far as Gallup goes, we know he's hurt. They talking about sometime in September, maybe week 3, maybe week 4. If he goes on the PUP list,
you know what happens. You know what happens to an injured horse. That's all I'm saying.
To the glue factory.
Yeah. I think wide receiver 48 was his ceiling. He's hit as high as wide receiver 22 in 2019 as the number 2. I think he's total buy low right now, Michael Gallup, because when he comes back, James Washington, and sorry to say, Doug, I know he's your guy, Jalen Tolbert, I think these guys kind of disappear a little bit like we saw Cedric Wilson kind of disappear last year.
Interesting. I think CeeDee Lamb gets a bad rap. A lot of people look at him as a disappointment, but the kid had over 1,000 yards again last year.
Yeah.
And, I think everyone puts such lofty goals, especially the Dynasty community, on CeeDee Lamb, that they want him to have like Justin Jefferson numbers, like 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns. It has to be that or he's a bust. No, he's still super duper young. He's going into his 3rd season. He had 1,000 yards in his rookie season, didn't he? Or just about.
No, he had 1,000.
Yeah. So, I mean, he could go into this year and have 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and it won't make people happy unless he hits like 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. I think he's unfairly compared to guys like Justin Jefferson and now Jamar Chase. Do I think he has that ceiling? I think potentially he does. He's a little bit more, he plays out of the slot a little bit more often. I just don't know if he has that ability to make those dynamic big splash plays that Jefferson and Chase do. And I think that's what I want to see in that offense. And I think that's what everyone's kind of waiting for. So maybe this is the year, because there's no Amari Cooper and, they're going to have to lean on Lamb a little bit more. So I like that. And, Gallup, I like Gallup as a buy low too. I think Dak trusts him a lot, and he makes plays along the sideline amazingly. His footwork is great. His hands are strong. I think now that Cooper's out of the picture, and if Gallup returns at the beginning of the season, I like going to try and acquire Gallup right now if you could. But what about Zeke?
I'm opposite. Give me all Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is easily the best buy of this team. Yeah, I think with the receiver group they have, they will utilize him as a receiver. They'll give him quick screens. They want to get him the ball because every time he touches the ball, it's either like a 70-yard touchdown.
He does good things.
Oh my God, he's so fun to watch. He's so good. He reminds me of when Tevin Coleman was actually good with the Falcons with Shanahan. When Shanahan knew how to use him. Yep. So I love Tony Pollard, and if you can get him for like this year, if I could have gave up 202, 201 for Pollard, I would have done that every single day of the week. I love that type of move because yeah, there's some weeks he may only get you 8 points. And if Zeke gets hurt, he's getting.
He's the only guy. They're not going to trust
RB,
Rico Dowdle and whoever else they got there.
Yeah, he's an RB1 if Zeke goes down, and that moment can happen. Zeke could just be this steady horse that just keeps going. But you know what?
Hurt a lot.
Yeah. Pollard is definitely a huge lottery ticket.
It'll be interesting if the offense struggles for whatever reason, and Pollard has that juice. If they have the onions to split the work more between Zeke and Pollard. I know that like they're locked into Zeke's salary, but they got to do the best thing for the team, and we'll see what happens. I think that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
I'm on the Zeke side. I really am. I'm sorry. I've been waiting for Pollard to really take off. Oh, because I don't agree with you. And when I don't agree with you, I apologize.
Zeke was still a top 10 running back last year. Right?
He finished as running back 7 last year. He's currently
an ugly running back
RB21 on DLF. Yeah, but he was a running back 7. And then you look at Tony Pollard, running back 28 last year, and he's on DLF as running back 32 now.
Would you give up a 23 second for Zeke? I think that's like where his price is.
I don't think you can.
20. I don't think you can. This is the problem with Zeke. You can't sell him, and you probably don't want to buy him. If you have him, you're holding, and you're just riding him out until the wheels fall off. But for Pollard, I was never really a huge fan because he's stuck behind Zeke no matter what. And Zeke is like the cornerstone of that franchise due to money, due to potential that he has to be
Jerry
around.
Wants to win.
Yeah, Jerry wants to win. But if you look at it this way from a fantasy perspective, I mean, you have him between James Conner and CEH and James Cook range on Dynasty Trade Calculator. Would you rather have James Conner or James Cook or Tony Pollard?
I'm taking James Cook out of all of them.
100%.
But
he's a bona fide handcuff.
I'd rather have Pollard than Conner.
Fair enough, because of the injuries, maybe.
Just upside. Give me the opportunity for the rise in value. Conner is stuck. He's cemented. That's what he is. He's not going up.
Cemented in a situation where it's really
yeah.
Nice
but I mean, he's cemented. His value won't go up. People won't trade a first for Conner. But if Pollard goes off this year, you could get a 23 first for Pollard.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Made a lot of interesting moves here in the offseason. Jalen Hurts, solidified starter. They didn't draft a quarterback like a lot of people were speculating.
Quarterback 2 in SFP.
Woo. Yeah, your quarterback 2. Jalen Hurts, who had a top 10 QB season last year, one of the most consistent performers at the QB position in fantasy last year. Wide receiver core was a little thin, and that's not a dig at Devonta Smith, who had a good rookie season, almost 900 yards in his rookie season. Isn't anything to sneeze about. The new standard has been set by guys like Jefferson and Chase. So people forget that, almost 900 yards in a rookie season is really freaking good. And I think Devonta Smith is good, but they brought in some help in that passing game. And on draft night, they traded for A.J. Brown. They gave up a lot to get him. They brought him in. Supposedly him and Jalen Hurts are best friends. They signed him to a long-term deal. So now A.J. Brown is in the fold to go along with Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith and Zach Pascal, who they acquired, who's a fine wide receiver 3. And then at running back, they didn't do much. So I thought that was interesting. Miles Sanders is on the last year of his rookie deal. Really hasn't lived up to the hype of following up Saquon Barkley at Penn State and testing really well. He's had some flashes of really good games, but he hasn't been able to put it together consistently. I think we all see the potential with Miles Sanders, but they seem to always have a timeshare. It's either Boston Scott or it's Kenny Gainwell or Jordan Howard. They didn't draft any running backs. They signed Kennedy Brooks as a UDFA, who a lot of people like, out of Oklahoma, which could be interesting. So, James, give me your take on the Eagles here. I think with the passing game, it's going to be interesting because they were such a run-heavy team last year.
There's 2 players that I want on this team. Mm-hmm. It's Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert. I don't think I want the running backs.
I think A.J. Brown's going to disappoint.
Yeah, A.J. Brown will definitely disappoint. I understand, he was friends with Hurts. Hurts tried to recruit him to Alabama. I heard he helped him out getting into Philly. He had a down year last year with only 13 games. He finished as wide receiver 32. Will he compete for targets with Smith and Goddard? Absolutely.
He'll get fed. He's making a ton of money.
It's mainly a run-first offense. And even though Miles Sanders was very vocal about the way that they were doing things later on in the season where Miles Sanders lost touches to Jalen Hurts. And that's the reason why I'm off of Miles Sanders. He's 2 consecutive years of playing only 12 games. Can't stay on the field. Definitely lost opportunity when Hurts came in.
No touchdowns last year.
Yeah. And
that'll positively regress,
I guess
though,
if I was
If
going
he
to
got 5, he would have had a good year.
If I wanted a
fantasy-wise.
running back on this team, I think I would take a shot, a low shot on Gainwell, that he could go. He has a little bit more upside. You know, last year of Boston Scott in that offense, I think Gainwell could turn into Naeem Hines type player in Sirianni's offense. And that's all I'm taking a shot on. Miles Sanders, you've had your shot. I'm done waiting for you to take off or show out or whatever you want to call it.
Tyler, what do you think about the Eagles?
I love A.J. Brown. I think he's going to get targeted a ton. He was a low-volume pass catcher in Tennessee. I think he gets more in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts and him have a connection. They paid him. Like the ingredients are there for him to have a big season. It's just, can Jalen Hurts progress as a passer? And I think he can. Off-season news, the hype machine that is Gail, who does Eagles talk that I chat with, has said nothing but positive football Hurts, and there's a lot of positivity coming. He's all in on working on his throwing and being better passer. He knows what he can do with his legs. He knows what he needs to do to be better quarterback for his team. So yeah, I mean, I think Hurts is in for a big year. And am I scared of him in Dynasty? Yes, Hurts, because of the Eagles' commitment. You know, they didn't really show commitment. They have all the picks next year to move up if they want to. But in redraft, I'm all in on Hurts. I mean, he's going to have an outstanding season.
He was only not a QB1 like twice, I think.
Yeah,
all season. Yeah, he was consistent.
I think he was QB3 from like weeks 1 through 13.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, for me, whose value do you think is higher, Fields or Hurts in Dynasty?
Hurts
for sure right now. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, their situation's the same. I was going to say, I almost feel like Fields might be higher, but you're probably
Fields
right.
is down to like QB 16, I think.
We'll get to that in the North because that screams by.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I actually love AJ Brown in this offense, and it's him, Goddard, and I do think Sanders probably has some positive touchdown regression.
I like Devontae Smith being the number 2. Like, I think he could be dangerous in that offense. It's just going to be a matter of how what's the mix going to be? Is it going to be 60-40 run pass, or is it going to be more 50-50? Like, these are the things that we going to kind of have to wait and see. You know, keep an eye on the preseason training camp reports, things of that nature. But if they put all that investment in the passing game, Devonta Smith was a first-round pick. They paid for A.J. Brown in the passing game. So to me, it says they're going to mix it up a little bit more and not have to. I think they ran out of necessity because they were playing good defense, and with Jalen Hurts' limitations in the passing game. And let's be honest, they didn't have anything outside of Smith and Goddard last year. Greg Ward and John Hightower.
That defense is going to smash.
Quez Watkins, he's all right. Yeah, their defense is going to be good.
I mean, you get that defensive tackle from Georgia who was supposed to be
Jordan
projected
Davis.
top. Yeah, I mean,
and then they steal the Kobe Dean in the second round.
Yeah, and then you got Cox again. So, that's going to be scary.
Yeah, it'll be good. All right, let's move on to James's team, the New York Giants. So the Giants, they're rolling again with Daniel Jones. They had a couple early picks in the draft. They did not go quarterback smartly because I don't think any quarterback
had a good draft.
This draft warranted that. But they bring back Daniel Jones. They obviously have Brian Daboll as the head coach now, who was the OC for the Buffalo Bills. And bringing him in, could Daniel Jones be a ghetto version of Josh Allen? We don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see. Saquon Barkley coming back healthy for the first time. They've bolstered up that offensive line. They did draft our boy Wandale Robinson in the second round, a bit of a surprise pick in the NFL draft. Kadarius Toney had a really nice rookie season when he was on the field, and that's my biggest concern with Toney is health. Kenny Golladay comes back. They've got Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard coming off an Achilles injury. So there's a lot of receiving potential on this team. You know, I have this weird feeling that Kenny Golladay is going to have a rebound season. And by rebound, I mean like 8 touchdowns and 900 yards.
I was just about to say 8 touchdowns is just a screaming stat.
When you look at the way this offense is laid out, Daniel Jones can throw a nice deep ball if he needs to. And that's where Kenny Golladay wins, is those 50-50 balls. They don't have another receiver like him on the roster. They have
Tall with
they have
height.
Wandale, they have Kadarius, they have small jitterbug kind of guys, and then you have Sterling Shepard coming off an Achilles. I don't know what to expect. Darius Slayton might get cut off this team. And then at tight end, there's literally nothing. It's Jordan Akins.
Ricky Seals, no.
My boy Daniel Bellinger already running with the starters. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
My most rostered player, period, in MFL is
any
Daniel
tight
Bellinger.
end with a half sleeve just screams good tight end, right?
Max Williams.
Yeah, Max Williams, George Kittle.
Yep, it just happens.
I mean,
so
the real
James,
piece,
give
the
me
real
the breakdown
piece,
on the Giants.
Yeah, the real piece that I'm interested in, and Tyler alluded to it early in the offseason about Saquon Barkley, and I'm back on.
They did bring in Brady.
I didn't think I was going to do it, but I'm back on. Saquon Barkley one last time. It's his last year of his contract. He looks like he's in the best shape of his life, and I
Which
know
is insane to say because that man is
right.
rocked.
We've read this story before, but I'm actually in on the talent. He's RB8 right now in DLF and June ADP. He was 21 overall. His value has taken a dip, and it's a small buying window right now because I think he is the focal point of the offense regardless. And his value could see a return to greatness if he performs that way. They beefed up the offensive line in this draft.
I like their offensive line, by the
They
way.
had a
Neal's
killer
animal
draft, and I think that it translates well for Saquon Barkley. I still believe in Kadarius Toney. I think Galladay is the field stretcher that they need, that Darius Slayton isn't. I just think they got off on the wrong foot last year with Galladay being injured. Shepard is a afterthought. Hate to be a pessimist, but
Achilles.
I mean, give it to week 5, the latest. I did some research on this. Every season since 2017, he's gotten injured from the beginning to week 5. That's it. Like, give it to week 5 and he's injured. That's Sterling Shepard. So I think Wandale.
Hey,
I think he does get in depending on Shepard's durability this season or their lack of, and you could see him earn value later in the season, probably around week 8. He's that fast, agile player, hard to catch in the open space, and I think he does make moves. They went out and spent draft capital on him for a reason.
Yeah, Dable's creativity is what intrigues me most in this offense because I see pieces that they can move around and be creative with.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast and I don't remember who it was, but someone said that they could see Toney stepping into like a Stephon Diggs type of role. And I was like, interesting. Okay. Like,
Yeah,
I
he
think
fits
Toney
that profile pretty well.
Similar size, similar speed, similar.
I think
like,
there's a lot of current dynasty buys on this roster. You talked about Saquon. We talked about Toney. Galladay, you can get Galladay as a freaking throw-in, and he could start for you in deeper leagues every week. I don't mind that at all.
He's a late dart throw for Scott Fishbowl for me.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Going like the 14th round.
Yeah, so I think the Giants are one of the teams that could turn it around quickly under Daboll with the talent around him if everyone's healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants, I know James is going to like to hear this, win some more games this year.
Yeah, I mean, if they win more than 4 that they did last year, that'd be
I say
great.
they win 7 to 8.
I think the over/under is like 5.5.
Oh, I would take the over. I don't think the Giants are going to be that bad.
Yeah, Thibodeau on defense is going to just hush the critics.
So I can't wait to finally watch.
He's been working with
Giants.
Shanahan.
Blake Martinez is coming back. He'll be healthy.
Like Shanahan has been hyping up Thibodeau. Like, if you get that man's approval, you're probably pretty good. I'm just saying. So yeah, the Giants, all it is all I got to tell you, Saquon, year 2 after the ACL. That's when everybody smashes. So this is his year. He's going to start trusting his knee, which every single running back has said year 1 after the injury, they don't really fully trust it. Year 2 is when you got that strength and you trust your knee again. And Saquon, if he trusts his knee and he's just destroying people again, yeah, he's got 2 bookend tackles to run behind. This is going to be great.
Yeah,
this is his season.
All right, let's move on to the Washington Commanders. They made some moves in the offseason as well. Their starting quarterback last year was Ryan Fitzpatrick. He retired. Taylor Heinicke back to the bench. They went out and traded for Carson Wentz,
Tyler's brother,
who I got called that a couple times today.
Who I think played better than a lot of people think last year for Indy. I know he made some bonehead decisions that cost him games, but overall, though, I thought Carson Wentz wasn't that bad. Terry McLaurin signs a long-term extension, so he's there for the foreseeable future. They go out and they draft Jahan Dotson early in the first or middle of the first round when a lot of people didn't see that coming. Curtis Samuel will hopefully return to health, and be that like I love Curtis Samuel. I have him in a lot of leagues.
Fun to watch.
He is a fun player. He's still only 25 years old, by the
You
way.
really haven't seen him play though in 2 years, have you?
It's been a year.
His highlight video is 5 minutes long, and it's his full NFL game highlights.
Yeah. But a guy that can be used out of the backfield. He was kind of like they used Deebo Samuel. He learned from Curtis Samuel. Let's be honest, because Curtis Samuel had that role with Carolina where he was taking handoffs out of the backfield. He was scoring touchdowns.
He had it for Ohio State.
Yeah, so I think Curtis Samuel, for me, is a guy that people have forgotten about when he had a successful season in 2020, then went to free agency, then signed with Washington, completely forgotten about. Washington, they have Logan Thomas coming back from an ACL injury. He's a little bit on the older side, so we'll see if he can come back healthy. And then at running back, right? This is where the big question is for Washington. Antonio Gibson, we want him to be the dude, but they're not using him in the passing game. They have J.D. McKissick. They re-signed him after Buffalo couldn't get him. They got James Cook, so they're better off anyway. But J.D. McKissick is back, and then they go out and draft Brian Robinson from Alabama, who everyone is like, oh, that means Antonio Gibson's done. I just think Gibson, the hype around Antonio Gibson was too high to live up to. And, this offensive line, too, they lost Brandon Sheriff in the offseason, which is huge. It's a massive loss to Jacksonville. So this line is a little suspect as well. But Antonio Gibson, lots of people off of him. This is going to be a very interesting team. You got Diami Brown, his second year, who could play a little bit too. I think there's a lot of interesting pieces on this team. I just don't know what to think of anyone besides Terry McLaurin, because I think McLaurin is safe.
McLaurin is safe. They gave him the bag. He's going to stick around,
and he's
for
freaking
quite
good
some times, and he's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have Terry McLaurin on your dynasty rosters, congratulations. He got that bag. You don't have to worry about him.
You hit on that third round rookie pick.
You hit on that third round rookie pick, or for some waivers, when people just don't know. Anyway, but back to Antonio Gibson. I think the market has soured on him a little bit.
A lot.
Because of Robinson. And I think we all forget, we say, oh, well, he was a third round rookie pick, and all of a sudden, boom, he's supposed to be this off the charts running back. Who said that? Why? Because he was there for Ron Rivera, and Ron Rivera said that he could be the next CMC. So automatically you say that name, and his price skyrocketed. All right. But for good reason.
They don't use him like
RB13 his rookie year, RB10 last year. He's still a low end RB1. And you got him for a third round pick. So if you have him on your team, great. Am I going out there and buying? If he's low right now, if I can get Antonio Gibson for a high 2023 second, yeah, I'll do that. I'm not going to pay a first for him though, and I don't think anybody would.
Yeah.
So
it's too scary.
Yeah. It's a little scary, but I don't think the 5-year senior out of Alabama, who was a third round pick this year, is going to take the job away. I can see him getting some goal line snaps because of his size, 6'2". What is he? He's like 6'2", 220. But I don't see him taking that full role. I think they do it as a committee approach. J.D. McKissick maybe actually be the safest guy in this backfield with the
60,
the catching.
70 passes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
He's the safest and cheapest.
Safest and cheapest. Yeah. So if you're a win now, J.D. McKissick probably your target. Yeah, but as far as and just a key point on Logan Thomas, he could start out on the PUP list. It's kind of like a wait and see kind of thing. Rookie
John
Cole
Bates.
Turner.
Bates.
No,
Or
John
Cole
Bates
Turner.
has been hurt too. So listen to this. Cole Turner,
Sammis Reyes.
receiving tight end, that all he did in Nevada, he was hyper targeted, back-to-back seasons, 600 plus yards, 9 and 10 touchdowns respectively. He's slow. He did have a bad combine, but I think he could be a red zone target that you may want to pick up, and he could gain some value, and it could be a quick buy sell mid-season.
I like that. Tyler, what do you think about the Commanders?
I'm out.
That's
Just
fair.
quick and simple.
Goodbye.
I'm out on Wentz. He's hurt me too much early on in his career, and with Gibson,
Dotson.
I'm just out.
Dotson, my cannoli.
You're gonna trust
I
a
trust
man
I
with
trust
the
Dotson.
initials JD playing
Yes.
for Washington. We've seen this.
He's from Jersey. I trust
Jahan
him.
Dotson.
I trust him. He was wide
Josh
receiver
Oxford?
6.
Josh
Doxson.
Doxson.
Oh my gosh. No, you cannot
It's the
do
curse
that.
of the JD.
He was probably one of the most pro-ready wide receivers coming out
he's-
of college.
He's gonna be-
30% target share. He 1,180 yards. Come on, Tyler.
if they get a new quarterback, he's going to be a great slot receiver.
We didn't even talk about Sam Howell. He's been my value smash in every single league.
That's the value.
Go buy Howell. That's all you get. That's what I'll say.
100%. Carson Wentz is like a placeholder for when Sam Howell comes in.
I got him in early thirds and super flexes, and I got him in like 5th round single QB. I'm cool with that.
All I hear from early Washington reports is, oh, Carson Wentz makes a nice first down throw, threw an interception on 3rd down. Like, this is Carson Wentz. We know this, but yet every year we're like, hey guys, this is the year things turn around. He becomes the MVP Carson Wentz. No, that's
can we say like his nickname would be like Wrong Way Wentz? Because he's always thrown it the wrong way.
He went the wrong way.
He didn't throw it the wrong way a lot last year. I'm telling you, he wasn't that bad. All right, let's move on to the AFC East, and we'll start with Buffalo. We'll start at the top, as much as it pains me to say. Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl favorites even, after signing Von Miller in the offseason and drafting James Cook. That's what put them over the top. There was some changes on this team in the offseason. We still have Josh Allen, the QB1 in Superflex leagues most of the time is Josh Allen because of his consistency, his running ability, his overall awesomeness.
He's only been quarterback 1 for the past 2 years.
He's so fun to watch.
Catch up.
The thing with Josh Allen, he's fun to watch. He's got a cannon of an arm, and he's just a fun guy. Like, you hear all the reports.
Very mushroom-esque. He's a fun guy.
How he is, and just how terrible Doug is with his joke. Just how fun Josh Allen is.
Oh, yeah. So in the offseason, Emmanuel Sanders is gone. Cole Beasley is gone.
Goodbye.
We all saw what Gabriel Davis is the most hyped guy in this offense, right? We all saw what he did against the Chiefs in their crappy secondary. Cool. Dawson Knox returns. They signed OJ Howard. That doesn't bother me. I think OJ Howard is toast. It's a depth signing, whatever.
Orange juice toast. I see what you did there.
Yeah. So receiving core, you still have Steph Diggs there, who should repeat as a wide receiver 1 easily. I actually think he underperformed last year. I think he comes back strong this year and could be in competition for that overall wide receiver 1. You heard it here.
I've heard it before. Yeah.
Okay. I think Diggs could smash this year again and beat wide receiver 1. So now it's going to be how do the targets? Everyone's on Gabriel Davis. He's where everyone is buying into. And who else do they have there? They have Isaiah McKenzie.
And Jamison Crowder.
I really like Isaiah McKenzie as a football player.
Shakir.
And Khalil Shakir from the draft.
Shakir. So they have a lot of interesting pieces. Will the offense just run through Diggs, Davis, Crowder, and Knox? Maybe. Could one of those other guys step up? Sure. Now in the backfield, we know Devin Singletary finished strong, helped people win leagues last year in the last 5 or 6 weeks, and looked really, really good. He's the incumbent starter. Zach Moss, he's got moss growing on him. He's not a thing. Sorry, not sorry. Ugh. And then they draft James Cook to be the pass catcher, Swiss Army knife in this offense, which honestly they didn't really have because Singletary and Moss doesn't fit that role. Breda didn't fit that role. James Cook will open up the creativity in this offense, I think. Mm-hmm. I know, Tyler, you are so absorbed in James Cook shares. It's ridiculous. You're swimming in them, literally.
Scrooge McDuck style.
You've gone all in. You've traded Travis Etienne for James Cook. You've traded Breece Hall for James Cook, and there's been some picks in there too. You have gone all in on James Cook, so you are a firm believer. And I like James Cook too, but you are all in. So talk to me about Buffalo. Obviously, the ceiling is high because they play in a weaker division, and they have the tools to keep up and compete with anybody, and they have a good defense.
It's just every piece of this offense. If you want to succeed in fantasy, it has been shown you want successful offenses. Offensive that can move the ball, get first downs, and score touchdowns. That's Buffalo. And I just don't get the disgruntled non-love for James Cook. You've got an elusive player who's a phenomenal pass catcher on a team that doesn't run the ball as much, but wants to use the running back as a pass catcher. They've shown that in the offseason.
They want to be more versatile.
But yet people don't want James Cook. It's kind of mind-blowing to me. Like every sign is there. It's almost like I'm on Criminal Minds and I see every clue. It's there. It's
You know
right
what's
in front of
interesting
you.
to me is that like when the Chiefs drafted Hilaire, now I know it
Yeah.
was the end of the first round. He was the pass catcher out of college, elite offense, and he went 101, right?
Yeah.
Ahead of Jonathan Taylor in a lot of leagues, you fools.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have been me, and it wasn't.
Nope.
But you look at the same situation, right? Like there's a starting running back in front of Cook, but just like there was with Hilaire.
Yeah.
Pass catcher, elite offense. Everyone's drooling for Hilaire because of the situation. But when it comes to James Cook, people are like,
his college production, it wasn't there. But yet he had the most yards per target in college football. Like I think all time. I can't remember, but
maybe.
I saw a stat where it was like,
I mean, he also played in the backfield with a lot of other NFL running backs.
and
Like,
and Georgia has been known to spread the ball out. They don't want to give these guys major touches because they want them to succeed further on in their NFL career. We saw it with Swift. We saw it with Gurley. They split touches.
Sony Michel.
Yep. So for me, Cook is
Tony
like
Michel,
the obvious.
Zamir White.
I would not be shocked. It would shock me zero if Cook was the highest scoring rookie this year just because of the offense. And he's going to get touches. I would not be shocked if he has 70 catches. He doesn't need to carry the ball 150 times. Give him 100 carries and he'll do just fine. Because if he gets those catches, that's what matters in fantasy. For me,
catches are worth more than rushes.
Yes. And for me, James Cook just screams production. And that's what I want. And if I'm going to have a rookie pick, this is why I have so much of him.
I actually heard him while watching film. He was running down the field and he was screaming production. It was like,
yeah,
he's production.
You saw that too. See, that's why.
That's
why I took him.
Spot on analysis there.
Him and Josh Allen have a connection already early on in camps. So it just seems like the value's there with James Cook. I took him in round 7 of Scott Fishbowl because you know what? I want to
get your guy.
Because
if you wait for your guy in Scott Fishbowl, you ain't getting him.
Yeah, you're not, and it's gonna suck because if you
people are way too smart.
If you're like me and you believe James Cook is gonna go off, it would suck for me to watch it happen on somebody else's team. So
yeah,
I'm not reaching for him.
I love James Cook. I love Gabe Davis. It's the same thing. I get he's a wide receiver too. I get his reception perception wasn't great, but you know what? All he needs to do is run the routes that he's good at, and that's a 9 route, and be open when Josh Allen scrambles. His first read is going to be Diggs, and Josh Allen. If he has to move out of the pocket, Gabe Davis is phenomenal at getting into an open space and getting open for Josh Allen down the field. That's what Gabe Davis is good at, and that's what he should be good at because that is what a number 2 receiver should be. That safety, like, oh crap, my one's not open. I need to roll out. Oh, there's James Cook.
Yeah,
there's Gabe Davis.
I think he's one of the more interesting cases in all of fantasy this year because a lot of people are buying into this one huge game. And it's going to be interesting to see if.
Wait, he had a huge game? I didn't know that.
He did. I think he scored
4
touchdowns against the awful Chiefs secondary.
This is the first time I'm hearing this. I have not heard this.
Breaking news. That game was boring to watch. Terrible game. So I'm not surprised you missed it.
I mean, if you give fantasy points for what they did in the playoffs, great. But he didn't do that during the regular season. It took him a while to come along and actually fit into that role.
We see this happen a lot. Like players end on high notes and they get overdrafted the next year. So this could happen with.
I think it's kind of like a sell high moment. I mean, he finished consecutively back to back 57 and 58 respectively, and I would sell some of my shares. I mean, at best, what's he going to be? A high end wide receiver 3?
You can get someone to pay a late first. I bet.
I would pay late first.
I think he's starting to hit his ceiling for value before he gets onto the field.
He's 23 years old. He's still young,
but he's still capped. His value is capped with Diggs there. I think he's not going to be more than a wide receiver
on this offense. He doesn't need to be the receiver 1 on this offense. He doesn't.
Tyler, what did you say about Jonathan Taylor? You sell when he's high, right?
But
Gabriel Davis is high. How much higher is he going to get?
So you see this apple and you see this candy bar. I'm going to compare the two.
It's an apple candy bar. All right, let's move on to the Miami Dolphins because they got a lot going on. They completely changed a lot of their offense in the offseason, making a big trade for Tyreek Hill. And at the time, making him the most highest paid receiver in the league. That lasted for about 3 days. But Tyreek Hill joins the fold with Tua Tagovailoa, who isn't a make or break year. Let's be completely honest. They bring back Mike Gesicki on the franchise tag. They sign former Dallas Cowboy receiver Cedric Wilson. They trade Devontae Parker to their neighbors to the north, the New England Patriots.
To the north.
They have Jalen Waddle, who has had an outstanding rookie season, setting the rookie record for receptions in a season, breaking Anquan Bolden's longstanding record. At the running back position, they still got Myles Gaskin. They bring in Tony Mateo, Sony Michel. They bring in Raheem Mostert, favorite of the new head coach, and they sign Chase Edmonds, which I think is the most interesting. I'm chasing the money there, Chase Edmonds.
No thanks to all three.
I don't know what it is, but I'm
chasing Edmonds.
I drafted Chase Edmonds and Scott Fishbowl in round 9, and I was super pumped about it.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think McDaniels looks for in a running back? It's not big, bruising power. It's speed and it's elusiveness.
Can you get to the edge?
Yep. And Gaskins has elusiveness, doesn't have speed. Sony Michel has neither. and I mean,
and Raheem Mostert is currently, probably injured.
Mostert has it, but the second we lay that sticker on the draft board, he's hurt.
Yeah.
So
I feel so bad for him because he's so fun
good
to watch. He's fast,
and
he's electric.
Chase Edmonds is everything
Boogie, boogie.
McDaniels wants. So why not trade if you're in a win now situation, trade a second round pick for Edmonds. If you still have your 2022
we
picks.
Just got him in a deal, Tyler.
Yeah, we got him as almost like a throw-in.
Pseudo kind of throw-in, yeah.
So yeah, and he still slept on. Chase the money, no pun intended, but he's the dude.
What are we doing with Tua?
Trading him.
Okay.
His stock is up a little bit with the addition of Hill.
How many firsts would you give up? One or a Tua?
How about Nana?
Nana. Zero.
Nana. Maybe a high end second. But I'm not giving up.
Superflex. It's
for
a first.
Tua. Yeah.
Superflex, it has to be.
It has to be a first. But you know what the problem is? He's a serviceable QB2 for Superflex. He's never hit that QB1 type arc, and I don't see it happening. Even though Tyreek Hill is in the offense, I mean, he barely supported Waddle. That's who he supported. Now you're going to say he's going to support 2 wide receivers? I don't think so. I think Waddle and Hill probably cancel each other's fantasy. They cancel each other's fantasy value out, which really kind of stinks. And we don't know on a weekly basis who it's going to be. If you want anybody in this offense, it's kind of similar to what I said about the Eagles. It's the quarterback and it's the tight end, because I know that Gesicki is going to get his. All right.
Gesicki's had some goosies.
He's had he's had some bad games, but I think that's also because they ask him to do too much.
Well, they line
him
up
offense.
in the slot. They don't even haven't played tight end.
I want to bring this up. Last time on Dynasty Happy Hour in the AFC East, when we had a quarterback that was being soured on, they brought in a new receiver. We were laughing about it, saying he's going to we said he was going to overthrow Diggs. We were laughing. He's going to hit the hot dog cart. And you know what? This is very similar. It's almost very similar. So you know what? Tua, quarterback 1 is going to happen.
I don't see it not happening. I think he can hit the
they gave him a franchise left tackle. They invested in the running back position. They bring in one of the best receivers in the game.
A great coach.
A great coach,
offensive coach.
They bring back Gesicki. There's no excuses for Tua this year. If he doesn't do it this year, he's done. He's not going to be a Dolphins quarterback.
So are you worth gambling a first round pick on that?
No.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, great split decision.
No.
Honestly, if it's a quarterback, yeah. Especially in an offense like that with Tyreek. Sure. If I have to give up a 123 first, which low key, I'm not as give me Bijan.
Have a Bijan Brise.
But other than that, there's a lot that could happen in this class. Bryce Young is short. CJ Stroud is Ohio State quarterback. So this is gonna happen. This class is gonna go through some bumpy stuff next year. But if I have a guy who is very hyped, who has had a struggle a little bit, who's had some decent quarterback 2 games in fantasy, I'll take the chance on Tua for 23 first, because he's got the weapons, he's got the offensive coach. Why not?
All right, let's move on to the New England Patriots, who also made some moves in the offseason. They traded, like I said earlier, for Devontae Parker, got him on the cheap. He's going to be their alpha outside receiver that they didn't really have on the roster because N'Keal Harry stinks. But they bring back Nelson Aguilar and his big salary. Jacoby Myers led the team in receptions last year with 80. He's back in the fold.
Undervalued, Jacoby.
Yeah. They draft Tyquan Thornton, which was a shocker to everyone. You know, he's 6'2", 178 pounds soaking wet, but he's like the fastest receiver in the draft. So really interesting to see how they're going to work him in. If they are at all in his first year, reports are he's gonna not really see the field, and he's going to be the guy in 2023. That's what I'm hearing out here. We'll see where it goes. At running back, they draft a couple. They drafted Pierre Strong. They drafted Kevin Harris. James White is back, but he's got a hip injury, maybe on the pup, maybe not even make the team. He's on a very veteran minimum deal. And we have Damian Harris, who had a surprising season with 14 touchdowns last year for the Pats, and it looked really, really good. He bided his time.
15 touchdowns.
15. He's the starter. He's going into his free agent year, and Ramondre Stevenson just looms behind him.
Both
Ramondre is awesome.
Yeah.
I watch every Patriots game, and Ramondre Stevenson is the dude. Like,
he's Kareem Hunt. Like, he's good Kareem Hunt back when Kareem Hunt was Kareem Hunt. Damian Harris
the contact balance for Stevenson and the power. He reminds me of Steven Jackson, but more agile.
So
Ooh, I like
Damian Harris too. Like, that whole running game was fun. Damian Harris is a very undervalued and underrated running back, and it's just because he took a little bit to get going. And I love
Patriots rookie running backs. They don't put him on the field. And that's why they did that with Ramondre. They put him on the field last year. Did he have a couple fumbles? Yes, but they went back to him. That was the important. Bill never does that.
The two games that he got over 55% snap share, he was just straight fire.
Oh, yeah. Ramondre's
just
an
straight
animal.
fire.
Like,
he was a running back one that week.
On your dynasty teams, you should have been scooping up Ramondre Stevenson after the draft, because when they drafted two running backs, that was the window. And now that people have actually like looked at all the teams and they're like, "Ooh, Ramondre's really good." His value is going up again.
I even think Pierre Strong
I like Pierce
low end buy right now because, you know, he's not going to see the field. It's like the same situation with Ramondre Stevenson.
If James White isn't there.
James White's not going to be there, but Ramondre Stevenson is going to be the pass catching back. We already saw that.
He's working on it in camp.
He solidified that role last year. He beat out J.J. Taylor. J.J. Taylor is an afterthought. Probably won't even make the roster this year. You know, James White coming back in from his injury, he probably won't be ready during camp either. So I think he's coach, there as he's James a veteran. White. Yeah, RB2, James White. But I think he's more there as a veteran presence to help these younger running backs along in the process. But I think Pierre Strong, he's an insurance depth piece that you kind of want on the back end of your roster on your taxi spot. Because first off, you're right. I don't like to roster more than one running back on the New England Patriots because you don't know who's going to get. But Pierre Strong, he could be a potential bruiser, man. He could get into the end zone. He had over 1,000 yards in his final season with where'd he go?
Jackrabbits.
South Dakota State.
The Jackrabbits.
Yeah, the Jackrabbits. So I think Pierre Strong is a very intriguing piece.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about
very cheap
the tight ends too,
price.
because Hunter Henry had a really solid season last year. I think he's Mac Jones's, and we haven't even talked about Mac Jones. I think he's Mac Jones's security blanket. But I think that I know Jonnu Smith came in, signed a big deal, disappointed last year.
Man, I sold all my shares.
I think Jonnu bounces back. I think he's a really nice buy in tight end premium leagues. I think he bounces back. He's still young. We know the athleticism is there. I think they want to use him more. But let's talk about Mac Jones a little bit.
Skinny Mac.
He's not Skinny Mac. His girlfriend took a picture, put it on Instagram.
Hit
Mac is looking jacked, bro.
Yeah,
Jack
the
Mac.
weight room.
Jack Mac. He's been throwing deep balls to Nelson Aguilar in practice. Like, I like Mac Jones. He had almost 4,000 yards as a rookie, 20 touchdowns. He looked the part. I mean, he was a little bit more mobile than we thought it would be. But I think Mac Jones is like, he will forever be a solid QB2 in Superflex leagues for the next
quarterback one upside
for the next 15 years, because that's his game. He's accurate. He's smart. He reminds me, and I know this is cliche, but he reminds me a lot of Tom Brady when he was younger. He's that game manager, and if he takes the time and figures out the game, he can ascend and make the step into being a consistent QB1, I think. But I love Mac Jones. I think that he's if I were to take, who are you taking? Tua Tagovailoa or Mac Jones?
And they're going around the same spot. QB
I'm taking
16,
Mac Jones.
17. I'm going to go with Tua there because of the weapons around him and the chance
This
that
year?
he actually is. Yeah, well, yeah. But here's the thing with the Patriots. We know they are going to run the ball. And they run the ball a lot. And yes, I agree with your optimism about Mac Jones stepping up and taking full reign of that offense. And if he doesn't, they have the run game to rely
How many
on.
passes did Mac throw last year? 400 and something?
3.
Three in a
one-
game.
No,
Yeah.
I get it, but it's still the
The
fact that
defense,
it's
here's the thing. The defense isn't going to be that good. They're not going to be able to
offense.
control it with the run this year. They're going to
So-
have Mac Jones pass more.
So I would like to disagree. I think Tua is much higher than Mac Jones. So if we're going price wise, I'm gonna go Mac easily, 100%, because I feel more comfortable.
I think
for
they're
his
around the
future
same
in
price. I
Dynasty-
don't think
in
you can
Dynasty.
get Mac Jones for a second right now.
Tua is higher. Tua has the
Tua's got the
stands,
buzz.
he's
Yeah.
got the buzz. He's got
Mac
the,
Jones is
he's got the
he's the
receivers.
boring, solid guy. Like, people aren't going to think he's a sexy pick, and that's where you can always bleed value from.
So
I love Mac Jones. I have him
Yeah.
a lot of
So-
shares.
So last thing on Mac, when I watch him play and he gets pumped, it's Tom Brady. Like, just his attitude and the way he plays the game and his excitement and love for it. It's Tom, and it's gross because they've got Tom Brady again, and it's like,
Well,
ugh.
we'll see.
TBD.
We'll see. Yeah,
TBD.
yeah, we'll see.
Tom
So,
Brady.
Any other
Disgusting.
thoughts on the Patriots? I think the wide receiver core is going to be interesting. I
Tom
think
Brady did.
It's gross. Ramondre is.
But-
we didn't even talk about Kendrick Bourne, who I like a lot.
So,
I think he's the Tim Patrick of this offense.
So
James.
for me, Ramondre and Harris, I have them in UDPL. I'm more than happy with starting them both because I feel like Ramondre can get me 10
Ramondra's so
points.
good.
Harris can get me 2 touchdowns. Like,
Yeah, I like
I'm
that.
fine with starting them.
I don't
All right.
want any of the receiving options on this
Fair.
team. I mean, Jacoby Myers is probably the only one you could trust. And that's about it. We've talked about the target shares between Tyquan Thornton, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Parker. I mean, if you're
There's
in a
lot
win
of
now
names.
situation,
Little Jordan Humphrey.
yeah, I mean, come on, like, take your pick, and then you throw Johnny Smith and Hunter Henry in the mix. Like, you never know where the ball is going to go,
And that's how they want
They don't
it.
throw that much, so
They're gonna. I'm telling you, they're gonna have to throw a lot. The defense, not great, Bob. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. So let's go to my least favorite team in the AFC East.
Oh gosh,
As a Pats fan, I do not like the Jets. Although they have a lot of players that I like in fantasy all of a sudden. So I'm kind of like, I'm not gonna root for them, but I'll root for their fantasy players.
is your
So-
mom's best friend available right now?
No.
Let me hit her up. I got that. I got
No,
that
Zach.
dog in
Zach
me.
Wilson feeling.
Zach Wilson.
He's got that
Leaving his
dog in him.
girlfriend.
Oh man.
Zach attack. All right, let's talk about the Jets. What they did this offseason. They have
You
Corey
want to talk
Davis.
about Zach Wilson, what he did this offseason?
I know what you did last summer. They got Corey Davis returning. He's their big free agent signing from last year, who played well at times and then got injured. Jamison Crowder is out of the picture. They have Elijah Moore returning, who is a top 5 wide receiver on that 4 or 5 week stretch and looked amazing. And it seems like everyone's freaking forgotten about him all of a sudden. So interesting one
depends.
there.
I feel like
think
it.
some
Wide
people
receiver
have.
3 from week 7 to 13. Like, come on.
Yeah, dude.
He's
I
got
think
a
He
people
came
have
out of that
love.
bye
forgotten
week
that,
like
though.
mad at the world.
Yeah. So they obviously spend the draft capital in Garrett Wilson, number 10 overall. They sign a couple of tight ends. They've got Tyler Conklin, who looks like he's beating out CJ Uzoma at the moment. And then they draft Sal's guy, Jeremy Ruckert, in the draft as well for a depth piece, maybe some future pieces. And then at running back, I'm watching the draft and I'm like, Michael Carter looks safe. They didn't draft him. And then they trade up and I'm like, if they take Breece Hall here, I'm going to be so goddamn angry. And it's like, the New York Jets select Breece Hall, running back. And I'm like,
Doug's guy.
FML. But I think they can coexist. I think Breece Hall, I think that was a good pick for the Jets. And I think having Michael Carter there, he's going to be the pass catching guy. And I think he can handle the workload if he needed to as well. So I think Carter, he was a strong buy for me. And then they drafted Hall. And he's still a bit of a buy because his price went down. Yes. So I like Michael Carter quite a bit. And then Zach Wilson going into year 2. The question is, all right, buddy, we've given you offensive line. We've given you receiving options. We've given you a running back who tests out of the
We've given you your
universe.
mom's best
Your
friend.
mom's best friend.
We've given you all these things. We've given you the keys to the car. Now drive it and don't crash it into a tree.
And yet he can't hit a pass in practice.
Tyler, are you scared of the Jets offense?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I love Wilson. He's my favorite receiver in this class. I have a lot of shares of him, but man, watching the early camps and Zach Wilson throw the ball, and when Garrett Wilson has to jump as high as he can behind him to get the ball, and they're like, wow, look at this catch by Garrett Wilson.
Just
and
put Denzel Mims in. He's a little bit taller.
And all you're thinking to yourself is, it doesn't need to be a fantastic catch because the quarterback should have just hit him in the numbers. It's scary. It doesn't look good. And you know what? This offseason stuff with him and his ex-girlfriend now, who they were looking to be engaged and stuff, they were serious, and then him just saying, screw it, I'm going to forget about it for my mom's best friend or friend. I don't know if they're best friends.
No, wasn't it his best friend's mom?
No, his mom's
friend.
Mom's best friend.
Oh.
So
Okay.
when I hear that, it's like, what kind of guy are you? Like, I mean,
Very open, apparently.
Pat Mahomes has the worst
It's
wife.
kind of like a pretty boy schmuck, eh?
I mean, Pat Mahomes has the most annoying wife, but he stays with her and doesn't do anything because
He just got married.
He's a true.
They've got 2 children.
He's a true gentleman, and he knows, his head's in the football game.
He just wears noise-canceling Bose all day. Patrick, the baby's crying. What?
Yeah. And then the commercial
watching
kicks
film.
in. The commercial kicks in. Bose,
Just squeezing ketchup, not listening.
Bose, noise canceling for all
Occasions.
reasons.
To bring it back to the Jets, dude, I think the Jets are like the opposite of all the other teams that we talked about in the AFC East as far as not wanting. I mean, you want the quarterback and the tight end. I want everything else except for the quarterback and tight end.
I feel the same way.
Because I think Breece Hall and Michael Carter can coexist.
Mm-hmm.
I think Michael Carter is like the 1B in that situation, but he could handle more. I think they cancel out each other a little bit, just like we saw Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams do it last year. Michael Carter played in a similar role when he was in North Carolina with Javonte Williams, coincidentally. So I think they both exist. I think they kill each other's ceiling a little bit. The wide receivers, Elijah Moore, oh gosh, second year in the offense, he already knows how to catch Zach Wilson's crappy passes. So I think
a lot of beautiful
I
ones.
was gonna say
Flacco.
I think the familiarity
White.
with Wilson and White, I think it helps Elijah Moore, and Garrett Wilson just needs to get on the same page.
But Mike White's better.
Who's better? I think they're both great, and I think they both can be great.
They did
And the
re-sign
fact that
Braxton
Garrett
Berrios
Wilson
too.
didn't impress in minicamp because Wilson sucks. I think he will break out at some point with more there regardless. So if there's a small window that Garrett Wilson starts off the season like crap and there's a small buying window, I am all in on buying Garrett Wilson a little bit cheaper than where he started out in the offseason. And there's Corey Davis there. Well, nope. I don't trust Baylor receivers ever.
I like Corey
again.
Davis.
The Jets are a team that I would not be shocked get Aaron Rodgers.
Corey
in a year
Davis
or
didn't go to
two.
Baylor.
And the tight end
Denzel Mims
situation,
did.
Uzama, he injured his knee last year. He missed OTAs.
Go get
Tyler Conklin and him have the same length of contract for almost the same money. And I think Conklin starts this year. I mean, he's a middling tight end
Great
too.
first name. Elite.
Middling Tyler Conklin or the
First name.
Jack
What's his
Conklin?
first name?
Oh, Tyler.
Is
Yeah.
it-
Tyler's cousin, Tyler Conklin.
Can we
Yep,
get
that's
Denzel
how it
Mims traded
works.
to the Falcons too, so his value is worth something?
How about Mims to the Patriots because they like Baylor receivers?
Yeah, right.
Man, I like Mims tape too. That Kansas City.
I
game,
like I like Denzel Mims, but he just didn't
Mims.
translate. He doesn't have the juice that they need. And I guess Baylor, they just they throw it to one receiver,
the juice.
have
He
a
just
bunch
doesn't
of
have the
contested
hands.
catches. No, he didn't have the juice. He couldn't put up against all the other receivers there. Who was it? Jamison Crowder and Corey Davis.
Braxton Berrios, bro.
Braxton Berrios burned him.
Braxton
Denzel Mims
Berrios
could not
should be
get
a
on the same
Patriot.
page. He could not
He used to be.
run the routes that were in the playbook That's the problem with Denzel Mims. And when he finally did, there was no quarterback to throw him the ball. James White kind of made him a little bit relevant, and then he fell off again.
Denzel Mims makes me sick.
Yeah, it's a shame I spent a draft pick on Denzel Mims when I could have had
It's
Justin
sad,
Jefferson.
but you know what? That happens. But yes, I agree with the whole Garrett Wilson. There's going to be a buying window. There will be an elite talent like that will rise to the top.
I can't wait.
If their quarterback situation doesn't pan out this year, they will change it because that team is good. They've got lots of players.
And you know what you do when you have a team full of Denzel Mims and your season is over and you're just done? You go on to Underdog and you download the app. You use code DHH and they'll match up to $100. So you can stop looking at your depressing teams and then you're fresh every single week. You can go on there, play DFS, do rookies and sophomore drafts. You can play baseball on there if you want as well, if that's your thing. But in season, go to Underdog. The most up-and-coming product in the fantasy industry right now is Underdog Fantasy. It's absolutely amazing. Great podcast network with Underdog too, so check that out. If you're into DFS, lots of cool things going on in there. Best Ball Mania is going on now as well. You can win first place $3 million, so you can make 10 times more than what Denzel Mims makes this year and then brag about it if you want to. It's absolutely elite, so make sure you check out Underdog. And while you're doing that and you're on the old internet, check out Dynasty Nerds. Go into Dynasty Nerds when you're on the line. Go to dynastynerds.com, sign up for the Nerd Herd, use code DHH for 15% off of any subscription. You got trade tools, extra Nerd Herd episode, prospect film room, prospect scores, and the Dynasty GM on there as well. And if you're still looking for, it's hot guy summer. So go check out Viridian Global. Type in Dynasty Happy Hour if you're looking for some new threads. If you're looking for Scott Fishbowl gear as well, I'm going to pump that up as well. You can go on to RotoWare. There was a pre-order for the Scott Fishbowl 12 shirts. They'll be back on there, so just keep an eye.
I got mine. I'm saving for it. I'm saving it for tomorrow. I'm going to wear it at work.
Nice. Tyler's modeling it right now.
Yeah.
Like that. It's all city themed this year, so there's some cool designs on there as well. And then if you follow John Bosch on Twitter, he has a link to a bunch of the different city designs too. Which
Shop
are really, really
Etsy.com,
cool.
I believe. The
yes.
plug is. Yes.
And I'm sure if you type in Scott Fishbowl or SFB, you'll be able to
love
find
those.
it. All those proceeds go to Toys for Tots on that website, which is absolutely amazing. I'm hoping that Scott raises well over $100,000 this year with Scott Fishbowl. I'm pro, we need to get some players involved. They make all the money. We hit them up. They give back.
Well, I heard the Buffalo live draft. They have Thurman Thomas showing up.
Yes.
Really?
They have
That's
Thurman
cool.
Thomas.
And they have the Thurman Thomas Foundation being for a charity.
Do you guys remember the basketball player Hayward that played for the Mavericks?
No.
Wore a bandana, big center guy that could
Spencer
shoot
Haywood?
threes. Maybe.
Was it Haywood? I think it was Haywood.
Might be Haywood.
Yeah.
So
Hayward, Connor Hayward is the tight end for the Steelers now.
He reached out to Scott and wanted to play, but he reached out too late. So we're getting players from other sports as well.
Shane Battier is in Scott Fishbowl. Yeah.
Some actors.
Yep. What's his name from
Guy from Psych.
That Thing You Do was in there too. He's a friend of Christopher Harris.
Tom.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, Scott Fishbowl, it's getting bigger and bigger every year. Shout out to those guys.
3,000 leagues this year, I believe. Was it 3,000?
Yeah, I think it's
3,000 people.
Shout out to Scott, Ryan, John, everyone else that helps out with Scott Fishbowl. With these live drafts are a lot of organization to get done, lots of moving parts. To get that many people in the same space is really difficult. So I just want to say thank you to all those that are involved with Scott Fishbowl this year. And I'm glad that Scott finally reached out and got help in the last couple of years, because this would be way too much work for one person. Right. So it's pretty awesome that Scott and the team has been able to put this together to get these live drafts finally going on. Because let's be honest, the funnest part of any draft is doing it live while you're in the room with your friends, people that you just met that you may be known for a while. So it's a great experience. I'll report next week on how my experience was in Beantown. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So until then, make sure you check out all our awesome sponsors. We've got Fantasy Points, Trophy Smack, Underdog, as well as Dynasty Nerds. And if you're looking for some threads, Viridian Global, check out RotoWare and shop.etsy for your Scott Fishbowl apparel. We'll see you next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.